What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. It is Chris Britton here with the lender team, and today I wanted to give you guys 5 questions that every listing agent should ask a loan officer if they call to validate a pre-approval that was submitted by a potential buyer. So the first question you should be asking any loan officer when their buyer submits an offer on your listing is the following. What are the AUS findings for that buyer? And AUS essentially stands for Automated Underwriting Systems, and it's what tells the loan officer what is needed on the file essentially in order to get it from underwriting to clear to close. So for example, your AUS may say buyer needs 3 months of reserves, and another buyer's AUS may say, buyers only needs to submit 1 pay stub and a W-2. So AUS varies between buyers. It depends on the file itself. But understanding what's on the AUS and being able to convey that to a listing agent is very, very important. If you're a listing agent and you ask a loan officer what the AUS findings are, first, they may be very impressed. If they're not impressed, they may be very scared and they may not be able to speak to that. And if they can't speak to those findings, then they probably didn't do their due diligence. So I would suggest running, okay? So that's the first question. So the second question you guys want to ask as listing agents is, has the buyer documented the funds for closing and any kind of reserve requirements as well? Now, reserves are something that's pretty much overlooked a lot. They're not required on all files, and if they are, it may only be 1, 2, 3 months of reserves. It really depends on the credit of the buyer, but it's definitely something that can hold your deal up or kill the deal if the buyer can't provide sufficient reserve requirements or obviously cash to close requirements. So as a listing agent, you want to ask the loan officer, has the buyer documented these funds for closing and reserves? And I would even take it a step further and ask them, if you really want to be thorough, are these funds coming from one account? Are they coming from multiple accounts? Or are these funds being gifted from friends or family? That gives you a really good idea of the buyer profile you're working with and who's going to be on the other side of the transaction. So question number 2 is, has the buyer documented their funds for closing and any reserve requirements? Okay, so the third question here is regarding employment, and the question I would ask as a listing agent to a loan officer is, have you verified employment? Do they have the full 2 years? And this is really important. Does the employment that they gave you match what's on the loan application? Make sure that the employment matches on the loan application. It's incredibly important, and it can really cause delays in the loan process if it doesn't. So as a listing agent, I would definitely ask about the employment. Do you have that verified, and does it match on the loan application? Okay, and the next question here, question number 4, is regarding the appraisal. I would ask the lender, is there an appraisal waiver? And if not, what is your time frame typically on getting the appraisals ordered, and when have you been receiving the appraisal reports back? Now, obviously this varies depending on how busy appraisers are, but at least you can get a good idea of what to expect, and you can set some kind of expectations with your seller on when we all might get the appraisal back and what that process really looks like for that lender. And the final and 5th question I would ask any loan officer is regarding income. And obviously you can't ask what the buyer's income is, but you can ask the loan officer, is the buyer using any kind of commission, bonus, or overtime to qualify for this loan? If so, have they had this income for 2 years, and is it documented through W-2s or pay stubs? So do your due diligence there. Ask that question about the income. Is the buyer using additional sources of income rather than just base salary or base pay? If so, have they received those income types for over 2 years, and have they been documented? And the reason why you want to ask about have they received it for 2 years is because we need a 2-year history of commissions, overtimes, bonuses in order to use it. So make sure the loan officer isn't overlooking that key point. Anyway, guys, that is what I would ask a loan officer if I were a listing agent and wanted to give them a call to validate their pre-approval. Hopefully this helps you guys when you're navigating the market out there. Let me know if you guys have additional questions. Obviously, always feel free to reach out. Happy to help, and hopefully you guys are having a great week. I will see you in the next video.